Yes, screen is visible to everyone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yesterday we have discussed about the Erlang's B formula. So now it is Erlang C model that is used for blocked calls cleared model. So in this model, a different type of trunked system queues blocked calls uh, uh, is used. It is known as Erlang C model. Procedure is we will firstly calculate the delay, the probability of a delay from the chart, and then the probability that the delay is longer than t at the given time period t seconds. Then we will find out the unconditional probability greater than t and less than t. And after that, we will calculate the average delay time d. This is the formula for calculation of delay. This is basically a long C formula that is that will have the that will represent when the call is not having immediate access to a channel. Fine. Let us suppose that we are having all the channels busy during the call initiated by the user. When all the channels are busy, then we will have to wait for certain time period. That time period is known as the delay time period. So this is a long C formula that is used for this purpose. So in this we will have the probability in which we will calculate the delay time period, that is equal to A raised to power C divided by AC, A raised to power C plus C 1 minus A upon C summation, having the values from K is equal to 0 to C minus 1, AK ratio of K. So by this formula we can use the delay parameter. Now based on this formula we are having one example. Uh, Suppose we are having an hexagonal cell with a 4-cell system having the radius of 1.387 kilometer. Total of 60 channels are used within the entire system. If the load per user is 0.029 erlongs and lambda is equal to 1 call per hour, then compute the uh, parameters using Erlong C system having the 5% probability of the delayed call. We have to calculate how many users per square kilometer will this system support, and what is the probability that a delayed call will have to wait for more than 10 seconds, and what is the probability that a call will be delayed for more than 10 seconds. So we will have to calculate the delay for less than 10 seconds, more than 10 seconds, and the average call, and the distance per kilometers in which the number of users will be supported. So we are having some given values, like we are having cell radius r is equal to 1.387 kilometer. Total area covered per cell will be square of this radius. So it is 1.387 square. That is equal to 5 square per kilometer. So we are given with the number of clusters having 4, number of channels 60. So total number of channels per cell will be cluster divided by the channel. Sorry, channel divided by the clusters. We are having 60 channels per 4 cluster. So it is 60 by 4. So total 15 channels are here. Now here we will use the formula along C from the chart with the 5% probability of delay, having C is equal to 15, channels are 15, and the traffic intensity is 9.0 erlong. We will use these values from the table that we have in previous lecture. We have discussed this table, erlong table. From this we will have these values. So we will have 9 divided by 0.029, that is the total traffic intensity divided by traffic per user. So it is given as 310 users divided by 5 square kilometers, that is 62 users are covered. in this particular radius. Then we are having the delay parameter for we will have to find out the probability that a delayed call will have to wait for more than 10 seconds. So for this we are having lambda is equal to 1 as given in the problem. So lambda is equal to 1 call per hour. That is your holding time. Now it is given as AU by holding time is given by AU divided by lambda. So it is 0.029 hour, or you can say 104.4 seconds. Now from the probability of the delayed call will longer than 10 seconds, it is given by probability delay greater than t. So it is equal to exponential of minus t minus a multiplied by t divided by the holding time h. We will put the values of c, a, time period and holding time, and we will have this b parameter. Then we are having c, that is the probability that a call will be delayed for more than 10 seconds. So it is given as by this formula, probability of delay greater than 10 seconds. So it is probability of delay greater than t seconds. It is 0.05 multiplied by your the value given in the B part, holding time. So it is 2.81%. So in this way, we can calculate the delays and the number of users that can be accommodated in per square kilometer. So a long C formula is basically used for delayed calls. Clear to everyone? Is it clear? This example is clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Next topic is about improving the capacity in cellular system. So we are having various methods that are used for improving the capacity in cellular systems. Some are enlisted like the cell splitting, sectoring, and coverage zone. These are the three most widely used methods that are used for improving the capacity in a cellular system. First method is your cell splitting. In this, we will split the cells. Basically, we will subdivide the cells in a congested cells into a smaller cells. So we will divide the one hexagonal cell into multiple microcells in cell splitting method. Next is
Ma'am.
your sectoring method.
मैम
Yes.
आपके पास ना बच्चों की वो आ रही होंगी रिक्वेस्ट ज्वाइन करने की।
Okay, just wait. फिर मुझे अब ये स्क्रीन ऑफ करनी पड़ेगी उसके लिए।
मैम यहाँ पे वो एक ही होस्ट हो सकता है ना, इसलिए आपको बना रखा है अभी होस्ट।
अभी 1 मिनट में करती हूँ ज्वाइन, जस्ट वेट। एवरीवन प्लीज टाइमिंग देख लिया करो, टाइम पे ज्वाइन हो जाया करो, अदरवाइज मुझे बैक जाना पड़ता है। Within 5 minutes when we will start the lecture, everyone should join. So next method is your, we are discussing about improving the capacity in cellular system. We will use three methods for capacity improvement in cellular system. Those three methods are cell splitting, sectoring, and coverage zone. In cell splitting, we will subdivide a congested cell into smaller cells. And in sectoring, we will use the directional antennas to control the interference and frequency reuse. And in coverage zone, we will distribute the coverage of cells and we will extend the cell boundaries so that we have to reach, it is a reachable approach for hard areas also. So first we will discuss the cell splitting method in detail. Cell splitting is basically a process of subdividing the congested cell into smaller cells, or you can say the microcells. We will divide the one cell into small subparts. Those are known as microcells, each with its having own base station and having the corresponding antenna, reduction in antenna height and the transmitted power. Basically, cell splitting technique improves the capacity and it will increase the number of times the channels are reused. So in cell splitting, congested cells will be divided into smaller cells, as I already told to you. So it will reduce the radius. As shown in this diagram, you will see that one cell is splitted into number of microcells, and the radius r will be splitted in this way. So radius will become smaller if the cells are having smaller microcells, separated into microcells. So by doing this thing, we will preserve the frequency reuse plan and we will reduce the transmission power. Here, the cell splitting technique is shown within 3 kilometers per square. So just see this cluster. This is a cluster in which we will split it one cell into number of microcells. So we will now define some certain parameters based on these cell splitting. Like we are having the transmission power reduction, that is from that is represented as PT1 to PT2, and we will examine the received power at the new and the old cell boundary. Old cell boundary is the cell in which the cells are not splitted. The cell will be having original shape, that are your old cell boundary. New cell boundary is the cell when they are splitted. So it will have the new boundary. So the power received for old cell boundary will be directly proportional to PT1 multiplied by R raised to power minus N. And for new cell boundary, it is directly proportional to PT2 into R by 2 of minus N. So radius will be reduced to 1/2 for new cell boundary. Just wait, I have to allow more students into the class. Screen is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we will define the old cell boundary and the new cell boundary with respect to their received power, and the received power at the old cell boundary and the received power at the new cell boundary. So these are directly proportional to the transmitted power multiplied by the radius. For the old cell boundary, the received power will be directly proportional to the transmitted power PT1 multiplied by the radius, old cell radius, that is R raised to power minus L. And received power for the new cell boundary will be directly proportional to the transmitted power, that is PT2, that is a reduced power, reduced transmitted power multiplied by the radius, that is divided with the factor 2, half of the radius from the previous old cell. So in this way, we will define the cell boundaries for the old and the new cell in cell splitting case. Now let us suppose if we take the values of this integer n as 4, then we will calculate the received power, that is equal to PT2 is equal to PT1 divided by this 16. So we can say that the transmit power must be reduced by 12 decibels in order to fill the original coverage area. So the main problem in cell splitting is that if we will only split the parts of cells, then it will have different cell sizes that will exist simultaneously. So it will introduce the handoff issues. So in this, high speed and low speed traffic can be simultaneously accommodated. So this is about your cell splitting. So cell splitting is the most widely used method that is used for enhancing the system capacity. Next method is your sectoring. Here in this diagram, this is shown how the directional antennas are placed into the cells so that the specified the power will be radiated in a specified directions as specified by the directional antennas. So here in the cells, in the hexagonal cells, we are placed a directional antenna in each cell. One directional antenna is placed in every cell, and here you see that we have the positions for directional antennas in which they can radiate the signal to the mobile devices. So significant reduction in interference will be observed by use of these directional antennas into the cells. Is it clear? Cell sectoring is clear to everyone? Yes, is it
Yes,
clear
ma'am.
or any doubt?
Yes, ma'am.
So related to this, we are having the microzone concept in which the antennas are placed at the outer edges of the cells, and any channel may be assigned to any zone by the base station. So mobile is served by the zone with the strongest signal. So by use of this, handoffs will be occurred within a cell, and there is no channel reassignment. Switching the channel to a different zone site will be there. It will reduce the interference, and low power transmitters are employed for this microzone concept. So in this, basically what we will do, we will uh, have to divide the zones. Okay, we are having a specified coverage zone, and in every coverage zone we are having a base station that will cover that particular region. So the signals will be strong in that particular region in which the base stations are installed. So once your mobile will move away from that particular region, then the signal strength will become weaker. So to do this, to avoid these things, we will have a microzone cell concept in which the mobile is served by the zone with the strongest signal. So every region is converted into further a microzones, and the antenna will cover those microzones with equal signal strength as the main region. So in this way, once your mobile will cross the boundary of the zone, one zone, and enter into the boundary of another zone, it will have the same signal strength. Signal strength will remain same by use of this microzone concept. So these are the three methods in which we can increase the capacity of a cellular system: cell splitting, sectoring, and microzone concept. Next is about multiple access techniques for wireless communications. In wireless communications, many users can access the channels at the same time based on the time sharing, or based on frequency sharing, or based on some port sharing techniques. So in this way, the multiple users can have access to the one single channel onto the same single channel onto a time sharing basis or frequency sharing basis. Mostly in wireless communication system, we prefer the time sharing basis concept. Frequency sharing concept is used in earlier analog wireless communication systems. Now we are having the digital based wireless technologies, so we will mostly use the TDMA techniques for multiple access technique in wireless communication. We are having the four types of multiple access techniques that are used in wireless world. Those are frequency division multiple access, FDMA, time division multiple access, TDMA, space division multiple access, SDMA, and code division multiple access, PDMA, CDMA, sorry. So first is your frequency division multiple access. Specification for these are: only one phone circuit per channel will be used. In this basically the whole channel is divided into multiple frequencies, and each frequency will be allocated to a user, one user. So in those frequencies, we are having the forward channel frequency and the reverse channel frequency for every user. Fine. The whole spectrum is divided into multiple frequencies, multiple frequency bands, and each frequency band will carry the forward channel and the reverse channel for the communication purpose. So let us suppose we are having 10 users, and the 10 users will occupy these 10 frequency bands for their communication. Let us suppose at a particular time, one user is using the channel and other using is idle, but that frequency band is allocated already to that user. So if the user uh, use that frequency band or it doesn't use that frequency band, it is allocated to him only. No other user can use that particular frequency band. So in this case, the idle time is used as a wasting time. So if the user is not doing any call onto that particular channel, still that particular channel is occupied by that particular user. No other user can use that channel. So this is totally wasted resource. This is the main drawback in frequency division multiple access, that the channels are occupied whether the user is using that particular channel or not. So it is clearly a wasted resource in FDMA. So in this simultaneous and continuous transmission is there. It is usually implemented in narrowband systems. In earlier advanced mobile telephone systems, it uses the FDMA technique having bandwidth of 30 kilohertz per channel. Frequency interference is another problem that is in FDMA. So we are having these kind of problems as frequency interference and wastage of resources. To overcome these two main drawbacks, we will have the next technique known as time division multiple access technique that will overcome these two disadvantages of FDMA. Clear? FDMA is clear to everyone? Yes, concept
Yes,
of FDMA is clear. Time division
Yes.
multiple access. Okay. In time division multiple access, here the whole system is divided into number of time slots. Okay, time slots concept is there, in which every user will be given a particular time slot in which he can transmit or receive a signal. In this, basically buffer and burst method will be used, in which the buffer space will be available for the time slots that are not used at a particular time period, and those time slots can be occupied by the another users. Like in FDMA, there is no such kind of facility, buffer and burst technique, but it is available in TDMA access, in TDMA technique, in which there is a buffer space in which the idle time slots are buffered. Okay, so those idle time slots can be occupied on demand by the users which want to send their signal. So in this, there is no resource wastage. It is basically non-continuous transmission, because if the user have to send the data, then it can occupy time slot and they can send the data. If a user doesn't have any data, then it can remain quiet, and that time slot is allocated to another user who want to send the data or who want to use the channel. So it is totally based on digital modulation techniques. It is the technique that is most widely used in wireless world. So we are having certain features in TDMA, like a single carrier frequency for several users are used. Transmission is used in burst. There is a low battery consumption. Handoff process is easier. Frequency division duplexing is used, that is used for switching, and it includes very high transmission rate, high synchronization overhead required, and guard slots are there to prevent any frequency interference. So in every time slot, there is a certain gap between the time slots. That gap will be introduced so that there should be no frequency interference into the adjacent time slots. Okay, as we already told to you that in FDMA there is a frequency interference. One user can hear the voice of other user if they are tightly packed with each other, if the frequency bands are tightly packed with each other. But in TDMA there is a provision of guard bands. So every time slot is separated with another time slot having with guard distance or guard slot. So in this way their frequency cannot interfere with each other, and there is a no crosstalk that is available in TDM. That's why TDM is preferred multiple access technique over FDM. Third is your space division multiple access technique. In this, it will control the radiated energy for each user in space. It will use the spot beam and antennas for this purpose. It will use the base stations that will track the user when the user is moving. So it covers the areas with the same frequency. Space division multiple access is suitable for both TDMA or CDMA systems and in FDMA systems. See this diagram for space division multiple access. Mostly the space division multiple access technique is used in sectorized antennas. So in adaptive antennas, simultaneously, when we will use the adaptive antennas in space division multiple access technique, then simultaneously energy can be distributed over multiple users in a single span of time. So it will cover the large population. Space division multiple access technique. The fourth multiple access technique is your code division multiple access technique, in which pseudo-random codes, the PN codes, are available for every user. These codes are orthogonal with each other, and they are correlated codes. Means the user at the sending side and the user at the receiving side both should have the same PN code to establish the communication. So mostly the code division multiple access is used in military applications, in which the for security reasons they cannot leak their data or any information. So CDM is basically used in a that purpose for security reason. So that's all about regarding multiple access techniques. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? These techniques are clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
ma'am.
all for okay, that's all for today.